Hey guys, welcome to day 6 of our Navigating Uncertainty virtual summit. This has been a fabulous time of knowledge and wisdom from all of our experts and our panelists and all the good things. So I don't know if your cup is overflowing, but mine is. Today won't be any different. We are welcoming my friend and colleague, Miss Jaide Flynn, as she helps us to navigate uncertainty with financial preparedness. Welcome, Jay. Can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Well, hey, LaDondra. Hello, everyone. Well, as you said, my name is Jaide Flynn. I'm so excited to be here with everyone today. So a little bit about what I do. Let me just put it all wrapped up pretty in a beautiful nutshell. I help families understand how money works. Pretty simple. Love what I do, helping families to navigate finances, and all in a fun, comfortable, hopeful way.
Jay, that's awesome to hear that you do it in a fun and comfortable way, because finances can feel really daunting. It can be scary. It can be overwhelming, especially now as we're embracing all the changes with COVID-19. So with that being said, I'd like to ask you, what has been your experience with COVID-19 up to this point?
Well, I'll tell you, the blessing behind it is because of financial preparedness. I know my family and I are doing well with that regards. We are truly blessed. But something that I have been working through is all this technology stuff. Listen, I thought I was really good with technology before COVID-19, and I have been very surprised that I am not as good as I thought I did. So it's been a real learning experience to have to shift how I do business, how I interact with people. I am very relationship oriented and I love to be around people. So this is a little bit difficult for me. I mean, hey, look, we can still do this Zoom thing and that's all cool. We can have happy hour online. That's great too. Definitely don't want to miss out on that. But that connectedness that I really enjoy with people is what I'm missing the most.
Jade, I'd have to agree that the technology has definitely been a challenge for us all. Even though I'm tech savvy, like I don't believe that I've been using technology to the capacity that we've been having to use it. So I'm having to overcome some challenges. So I totally can relate. And I'm really happy to hear that you and your family are doing good during this time. And that's why it's so important to have this conversation right now about financial preparedness. So now that was an internal question about how y'all are doing. How is things going and what are you observing in the marketplace with the families that you work with right now as it relates to COVID-19?
Well, yeah, LaDondra, one of the things, and I'm sure we are all feeling the stress and the struggle when it comes to finances. Many families are struggling with maintaining employment or even getting jobs, covering the expenses that they have to cover for their families. And, you know, overall, what it is showing me is that families are just not prepared for an emergency such as this.
Yes, I totally agree with that statement. And we have a lot of families that's been living paycheck to paycheck. So that's why, again, this conversation is so important. And we're kind of throwing around a word, financial preparedness. What do you mean from your perspective when you're referring to financially prepared?
Well, here's the thing, what I can share is what I'm talking about where people aren't financially prepared. You know, what we're seeing is a lot of families, they have little or no savings. An emergency fund is not something that's very common to many people. They live beyond their means. We try to work hard to keep up with the Joneses instead of staying within our own household budget. And then also people are relying on different resources, credit cards, why America is in huge amount of debt right now. We're looking at credit cards to sustain our way of living in order to keep up with the Joneses, right? Some families are having to rely on other family members to help them get through even the good times. It's not even such an emergency, but just even in life in general. And then, you know, you see people when the struggles do arise because they're not financially prepared, they're looking over and going to GoFundMe.
Yeah, I have observed the same thing. So with your expertise in what you do from a day-to-day perspective, what would be 3 practical tips that you'd recommend to help people move from a place of uncertainty in their finances to financial preparedness?
Well, that's a great question. Now that we are all self-quarantined, here's something that I would highly recommend, and that's doing an internal evaluation. Grab those bank statements online, because many people don't have them in paper anymore, and do a review. What are your true spending habits? If you were to look through your bank statement and identify all of your spending, where is the most money going? What we find is a lot of miscellaneous items that are, I don't want to say frivolous, right? Because we all have to have a good time every once in a while, but maybe not as purposeful in our spending. So being able to review that bank account and look for the small details that could be very beneficial in helping families. Another great idea, and people may have heard of this, the envelope system. Being able to take a paper envelope, identify it with a category. So say maybe entertainment or groceries, maybe gas or the mortgage, some way of being able to identify that that money is specific to that cause. And if you don't want to do it in paper, you can always do what I call a brick and mortar envelope. Go to your local bank, open up a couple of accounts, but identify those accounts for a purpose that is an expense that your family needs. So being able to do that, it really helps us to manage the money and not so much overspend. You know, with a credit card, it's easy just to go swipe. We do it all day, every day. It's very simple. We're disconnected. And so there's no tangible responsibility when we do that. So the envelope system is a great way for people to manage their spending habits. And then the last thing I can think of that a lot of people don't like this word, maybe some people haven't even heard of it or know how to make it happen, a budget. Really looking at the necessities your family has first and foremost. And then when you get the necessities down, identifying those other areas of importance. There's a lot of things that we have to spend money on, and sometimes we really don't think about it until that moment, like doctor's appointments, getting our car registered and inspected. Those don't happen every day, so we don't account for them. So if we have a budget in place, definitely a way to help manage the funds and be prepared for a time that's necessary, like doctor's appointments.
Yes, Jade, I totally agree. Those are some great tips. But I want to just kind of pause for just a moment and call out the elephant in the room, because these may be some tips that people are easy to write off, the things that they feel like is simple. But I feel like the tips that you've provided, these are cornerstone tips. And I don't want our listeners to write those off as just simple and already been heard, because extraordinary things can happen from the simple things when you just start taking those baby steps. So I love that you have called those out, some simple practical steps that we can take. But what I'd like to do is to ask you, how can we now move from a place of uncertainty and so that we can actually apply these tips and principles that you've given us, so that we can rewrite our money story from one that is of uncertainty into possibility?
That's a great question, LaDondra, and you're absolutely right. Money issues are always the elephant in the room that nobody wants to talk about. And here's what's important. We can create as many spreadsheets as we want. We can create as many budgets. We can have as many envelopes that we need. All those are really great strategies. But the big issue that people need to address is their money mindset. We often have this belief system that says we're broke because, we're not the top 5% of the population, or we'll never get ahead. We can never have anything. Going on vacation is a pipe dream. But in reality, it's about the mindset that we have in ourselves. That's not always the case. If we take these simple strategies and techniques and begin to apply them one step at a time, those things will go away. That belief system will be busted. Some things that we think about, goal setting. People have heard about SMART goals or setting a goal. We can't achieve anything without a target. So if you're going to think about financial goals, think about, what is it that you want to do? If it's a vacation, where do you want to go? When do you want to take your family? And about how much is it going to cost you? Because when we could put those specific details down, now it gives us empowerment to achieve that goal, because we know what we need to be doing. Another great thing is our emotional attachment to money. Why are we spending? Why won't we do a budget? Why do we feel we need to live and keep up with the Joneses? Some reason there is an underlying factor that causes us to do the spending that we are. So evaluate, why do I spend? Why am I going out and eating so much? Why do I feel compelled to have all of those new and up-to-date things? And ladies, y'all know we're about shoes, right? When there is a shoe sale, we are on it. But do we need to have 96 pairs of shoes? Well, some of us would say yes, but is it really necessary? Can that be one of those celebratory spending moments that we include in our budget? You know, we know spending makes us feel good, but what we don't want is buyer's remorse. Finally, listen, we have to take initial steps to refine and align ourselves with the Word of God, to be able to walk in the spirit of hopeful future as you're walking through this financial plan.
Those are some great tips, Jade. I love how you talk about assessing your emotional triggers because and changing your money mindset, because that's at the root of it all. If we don't know why we are triggered to go out and spend, then we'll continue to repeat the same pattern over and over again, and then sabotage our opportunity to set ourselves up financially for financial success. And so I appreciate you sharing those tips. And guys, please take that in when you're going through and you're evaluating your bank statement, or you're going through and you're doing your budget. Really take into an assessment, a deep assessment about how you're feeling in the moment when you're doing that and when you're walking through it. And another thing I'd add to that is to assign yourself an accountability partner. That has been amazing for me and my husband, because like she said, if you don't have any accountability system, you're going to go out and get all the shoes and all the things that you want because you're emotionally spending. But if you have somebody who's keeping you accountable, then you'll think twice before making that purchase. So if you're not married, find a friend who can keep you accountable. I'm sure they would be happy to have an financial accountability day. Y'all keep each other accountable, make it fun. And Jay, what I'd like to ask you is, what would be some final words of encouragement that you'd offer to our listeners as we are getting ready to set ourselves up for that financial future? But actually, before I go into those encouragement, because I want to leave with the encouragement. The government is getting ready to issue a stimulus check out to families, okay? And I'd like you to provide some perspective on some wise tips that families can use in order to prepare.
Yeah, absolutely. When we get that large sum of money, we know the first thing we want to do is go shop and spend. Obviously, that's the point, right? We want to put that money back into the economy. But listen, I think the first and foremost thing is you hit the nail on the head when you say be accountable. We need to find that accountability partner that can help us to be purposeful and intentional with that spending. If you don't have an emergency account, if you're not prepared for a small or large incident such as this, put some of that money away, put it back, start forming that habit of saving a little bit at a time. Also, you want to think about paying yourself first in retirement. Have you thought about that? If you're 20 years old, you think you have a long way to go. Let me tell you, sisters and brothers, I'm already on that side towards retirement, and it got here way too fast. So think about your future. Think about what lies ahead, because even in retirement, you need quite a bit of money. And you know what? Life happens along the way there too. So pay yourself first. Make sure you're accountable, purposeful, intentional with that money. Definitely a great time too to get that envelope system started.
That is sage advice. Strengthen your personal economy first, and then look outwards. I love how you just put that perspective on that, and then looking at ways that we can establish a legacy for our futures. So guys, take that in, create a vision for your money, tell your money where you want it to go with the budget, and then work the budget with an accountability partner, and work the budget with also an accountability system. So this has all been very good advice. What would be be those final words of encouragement that you'd like to leave in the hearts of our listeners?
Yes, listeners, everyone has a quote, saying, or scripture, and my favorite is Jeremiah 29:11. I know the plans I have for you, saith the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Be mindful of your money and rewrite your money story.
Amen to that. Thank you for sharing that. A hope in a future. Listen, Jade, our heart is to give back during this summit. So what would be some free resources that you would have to empower our families and individuals?
Great question. Our firm actually provides complimentary free financial needs analysis to our families. There is no cost for a consultation. You can give us a call, write us an email, ask any questions or concerns that you may have. If you don't understand the envelope system or how to get a budget started, give us a call. Let us know. We'll be happy to answer those questions for you. Also, accountability. We talked about accountability. A great way of doing that is there's an app for that, right? This younger generation knows all about those apps out there. Find the app that works for you and your family to help you begin that budget, create that system that's going to work for your family. You want to have financial freedom. You don't want to live in bondage. So maybe Mint is a great app. I hear has a lot of great reviews, very easy to work with. Of course, getting it started may be a little frustrating, but once you get into the habit, it's smooth sailing from there.
Great. And guys, you will not have to remember that. I will have the resource document link in the chat as we continue on. So go ahead and you can click on that after we are finished, and those resources will be available for you to take advantage of with Jade, her company. And you can also look up that app on the App Store as it relates to Mint. So listen, Jade, we are all in quarantine. This is not by choice, but we're here, and it is what it is, and we want to make it fun. So what would be 3 suggestions that you'd recommend to make this time fun?
Oh, yes, that life is not worth living if there's not a lot of fun involved, right? And I'll tell you, parents, families out there who have little children, crazy teenagers, I'm telling you, I feel your pain, but glory be to God, we are now empty nesters, and we don't have to deal with all of that craziness. But some of the things that we did do when our kids were a lot younger is we may not be able to go anywhere, but we can definitely go in our backyard. We would set up campgrounds, pop up a few tents, make a new tent of your own, grab that grill, or maybe come up with other ideas of how you can cook on a campsite. Be creative. We love being outdoors, and that was a lot of fun for me and our children. Bike riding. My husband and I are avid bike riders. Grab that bike, pump up the tires, get the helmet, and get on those Trinity trails. It's beautiful out there. God's scenery, his masterpiece of nature can't be beat. And listen, it's free, people, free. I think that's in your budget. And create a movie night. You know, movies are a lot of fun, but make it more fun than just sitting on the couch. Spread out a blanket, throw a bunch of pillows down, and make a popcorn buffet. Pop that popcorn, grab a few candy treats, and see if you can make the most gourmet popcorn.
Wow, I'm going to take you up on that popcorn buffet. That sounds really exciting. I think me and the family, I have to make that into a family Friday night. So thank you for those wonderful tips. Now, Jade, you have provided us with a lot of information. So if someone has those questions about anything that you've covered today, how can they connect with you further?
Yes, absolutely. The best way, I have to, first and foremost, my email. It's jaidepfs@gmail.com. So that's jaidepfs@gmail.com. And another way is, hey, come visit me on Facebook. You can get to facebook.com. My handle is Jaide Flynn Representative. Just type in my name. It should pop out. Come check us out. See what great information we're posting there. Have a comment, post a share, whatever you need to do. But we're there for you.
Fantastic. Again, thank you for being here and contributing your knowledge. We are all better for it. Guys, we are on the downhill. Tomorrow will be our final day of this summit. So make sure that you join in with us at 7 p.m. And if these tips have been beneficial to you, don't hoard them. Share them with a friend and by tagging them, posting it to your what is it called? Your news feed, to your news feed, and tagging a friend, share it, because we are trying to inspire hope and possibility, and we can do that through sharing and encouraging another person. Okay, so as we're ending, I just want to say the same quote that I've been saying: don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything, because this too shall pass. Bye for now.